So I was basically thrown into the ocean because I had zero knowledge on what I was doing. All I had was enthusiasm and genuine interest to like learn and know about the field and everything.
To be honest, from a very early age, I've always been in tech. I think like when everybody else was like doing lessons in maths and English, my own folks were teaching me computer. They got people to teach us computers like after school. So I started my playing around PowerPoint, Excel at a very early age. I can't remember number. It was way before I was 10 years.
Wow. We're in the global stage today and everyone has some tech narrative related to their work. Tech is the future, they say, but how do we even get started as it relates to tech? Today's conversation is focused on tech and the work around this. In the studio today, we have Anthonia Eshiet, product designer, and Kehinde Olateru, co-founder and CEO, Zero Complex AI. It's so great to have you both in the studio today.
Thank you.
Nice to have
It's a pleasure.
Okay, so we're talking tech. How did you get into technology?
Okay, so it's actually a very interesting story. I started off being an illustrator on Instagram, and then I got into technology through an internship program at Parkway Projects.
Right.
And then, so I was basically thrown into the ocean because I had zero knowledge of what I was doing. All I had was enthusiasm and genuine interest to like learn and know about the field and everything. So one important thing that made me succeed was having very, very great teammates. That's one interesting thing about tech, the collaboration. You get to collaborate with like great minds. So me being I started off being like an intern, started off with graphics design, and I was working with like very small things like posters, newsletters, and everything. And then the CEO, his name is Emeka Onka, he was like, okay, I think we should throw her into the ocean. I think that was where I got the throw her into the ocean thing. And then I started to work on some more serious projects. I remember I would come to the office on Saturdays and just trying to like show that, okay, I'm into this thing, I'm very interested, and I want to do this. And then, that was how I got into tech. And then after some time, they decided to trust me more, so I started to get into more serious roles, and then COVID struck. So that was also like a turning point for everyone as well. At that time, we were now forced to, work remotely. So remote work was something that we're dancing around initially, but after some time, it was like, okay, now we have to work remotely, right? I remember one of my first tasks was to design a dashboard, and honestly, I cried.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I cried because first of all, it was a new terrain for me, right? This was something that I'd been practicing on a smaller scale, but it was like, okay, you're going to do this, right? So I started to do it, and I had to like conceptualize and have some sketches done. I remember sitting in my balcony and I was like, I was like, God, I beg.
Who sent you?
I was like, God, I beg. And then I just, I wiped my tears and I started to sketch. And then I came up with like the first drafts, and then I showed one of my teammates, and he was like, wait, sorry, hold up. We're supposed to be working remotely here. What's going on?
Wow.
And then he was like, wow, this is really, really amazing. So, you also have like your teammates to, put you through. Because it was we were working remotely, we now had to leverage on collaboration tools like Teams, Zoom, started to like pay attention to those platforms. And then there was also the issue of, okay, how do we track what other people are doing? How do we know you're actually at work, right? And then we also needed to also socialize, because when you're in the office, you get to speak to people,
right?
And you get to, maybe have like maybe you're doing your lunch break when you can interact with your teammates. And then when you are stuck on something, it's easy to just say, hey, please, could you help me with this? Or A, could you help me with that? But once you're working remotely, it's like now you have to say, okay, how do I break through this? How do I reach out to my teammates? It was kind of like a barrier at first, but it was something that most of us like pushed through. I personally pushed through that by, I would just, send a message, because now you have to interact through Slack or Teams, right? So I would push through and be like, oh, so hey, what's up? I'm having issues with this particular task. Please, could you help me out with this? And you would actually see that people are actually willing to help you. You also need to open up your minds, like, okay, I mean, there are times when you're like, I need to be able to do this thing myself. But then if you keep doing that, you are going to remain in like a particular box. So it's very important for you to open up your minds and then think as not I, think as a we.
Right.
So you would, I mean, if you and your team are having a project, I could ask the project manager, I could ask the developer, oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? They might have some insights that you don't know about. So
yeah. Okay. Amazing stuff there. I see the effect on collaboration that has helped you harness your skills. Okay, so speaking to Kehinde, I want to believe a lot of young people are looking forward to owning stuff, someday. Now, the narrative is, how did you become a co-founder in the tech space?
Well, to be honest, from a very early age, I've always been in tech. I think like when everybody else was like doing lessons in maths and English, my own folks were teaching computer, but they got people to teach us computers like after school. So I've started playing around PowerPoint, Excel at a very early age. I can't remember number. It was way before I was 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've always been in tech, sort of. But I did not really see it as a serious thing. I just said that's something that because we had computer at home. So it was just my twin sister and I were just always playing around computers a lot. Then at some point we got internet installed at home. So I got more interested in it. I used to do a lot of designs. Back then my dad was a pastor in a church. So I used to do designs for church programs.
Church graphics.
Sort of like that. But it was just elementary. Right? It wasn't like, majority of those designs were not used, right? But I used to work with I did Corel Draw, print artists, Excel. I used to do PowerPoint presentation, just for fun of it. Then I used to do also in church. I used to be in charge of the presentation. But when I got into Unilag, I discovered, people used to make money for this thing. I remember my first roommate then used to do websites with Dreamweaver and used to sell bulk SMS. So I think that's how I got interested.
Wow.
In that. Then I now joined the fellowship back in school, and we're in charge of producing posters, designs every Monday. Right. So I think along the line we became better, right? With some of my friends back then, because we were in the same departments in fellowship in school. So I think from there, I think my final year, someone from fellowship reached out to me and said, I work in this oil and gas company, and they wanted to do some promotional flyers. Right?
Oh, wow.
And I think that's how I got my first big check. Right. I think it was a lot of money. That time was a lot of money, right? Then I think somebody else said, I work in a company, I want to do a website. So I called my co-founder, Shola. I was like, look, this came up. And I think that's how we got our first. It was a lot of money back then. Really a lot of money. Still a lot of money now to some people, but it was a big break. Then I think the second big break I got was the client. Someone introduced me to clients from the UK. And I think out of, I don't know, maybe fear, just asked how much you want to pay. And I think the person converted what he wanted to pay in British pounds to Naira. I won't say the amount. And I was like, okay.
This is money.
This is good. So we set up a company called the 51st Street, myself and Shola. Then we were just doing stuff, just working for a lot of companies. We used to do stuff for churches that we attended back then. And I think that's where we met the other third co-founder, Benga. And at some point we now met together. We now did a lot of interesting projects. It was not design alone, it was now web applications. We did with Tony Limili Foundation, think we're we're the first. But they were using a SaaS product. They moved into like a customized. We built the infrastructure for them back then. Became pretty much interesting. Then last year, ChatGPT came out around November 2022. Last year, around January, we're just having lunch. 3 of us, right? And I think somebody just mentioned, oh, this AI thing, like, it's interesting. What do you think we should do? But we had worked on a lot of enterprise projects prior before then. Worked with NIBs, worked with a lot of banks, worked with a lot of telcos. So we're like, okay, we feel like businesses are going to need AI integration, right? And I think Benga then was like, oh, there's something I've been working on the side, right? I don't know what you guys think. We saw it, we're like, that makes sense. Like right there and then we came up with a name for the company. And I think Shola suggested the name, but the domain. Shola came up with the landing page overnight. One of the best product designers. Sorry, no offense. But he's evolved now into being our chief product officer. I think we on my landing page, we showed some of our clients, like customers that we had before. And they were like impressed. And fast forward to July, I applied to a competition. I didn't take it serious. We got second. We got funding from it. And I mean, on my way, I saw it. The second person that invested in us, I said sorry to them. I was asking me how far your retirement plan, sort of like that. So I think that's how it's just been like a journey for me personally. But at the root of it is I just had interest in technology. But it wasn't like I wanted to go into it to make money at the beginning. It was just I was bored at home. I was good at maths and all the other subjects. So I told my parents I didn't need a lesson teacher for that. So my dad was like, okay, let's make you get more busier, come and learn computer. And they got me a lesson teacher. I can never forget her name, Auntie Shei. That's what you call her back then, I'm sure. She's probably Mrs. Shei something. I don't know what she is. Shout out to her. So she taught us Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Print Artist, CorelDRAW. Taught us even how to play games, because I used to play games then. So yeah, so pretty much just with the computer. I can say a nerd, but not really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is very insightful and very, very inspirational as well, because what I see from both your stories is the tenacity, the interest, and then the drive to actually pursue something and see to it to the end. Being a co-founder, what has been some of the challenges you've experienced, in the journey of running the tech company?
I'll just divide it into 2 phases. So the phase one was I was co-founder of a technology agency, right? It was bootstrapped, right? And now where I'm a co-founder of a venture-backed business, there are two different scenarios. Challenges differ, right? So let me start from the early, the one I'm currently working. Number one, you have so many challenges. Number one, you realize that you have bosses, right? Your investors are your major people you report to. You have a fiduciary responsibility towards ensuring that whatever funds you've been given is being used for the purpose to which that fund was allocated for, right? That's one. You also need to ensure that you acquire customers and you generate revenue. Maybe some might say not profitable, but you should have a clear path towards profitability, because that's what makes the company valuable. And those people that invested in you can, so in quotes, get returns on their investments. That's one. Also, you also owe it to your fellow co-founders to ensure that you pull your weight and you put in your own contribution. You also ensure that customers are important and to treat them right and to ensure that they get the best value for their money. And they also ensure that you listen to them, get feedback, take corrections, and make adjustments as I went due. Also, your people, it's important that you let them know that they're important in all of this. Someone in the Bible says that my people perish for lack of vision. But I usually say that if there are no good people, the vision doesn't get covered. So you need good people. You also need to be genuinely interested in their well-being. Some will leave, and it's okay. You contributed your own bits when they were with you, ensure that it was worth it for them, right? And people that want to stay to ensure that it's worth it for them too. You need to lead from a good place, right? Communicate better, carry everyone along, and have a common goal that everybody can work towards ensuring that they achieve at a particular point in time. Then also for a bootstrap company, challenges staying alive, right? Whatever plan you think you have, just add 6 more months.
Wow.
Right, so bootstrap, it's a different ballgame entirely, right? You are always trying to ensure that you keep your costs, your operations, at a particular threshold, so it doesn't eat into your revenue or things like that. So it's important. Still, the other challenges of people living and staying. That's just normal, especially in tech world, right? It's normal. So I just count it as contributing my own bit to national economic development. So yeah, that's where we are set. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, Anthonia, challenges going through the tech field.
Okay, so when I first started off, one thing I realized was there were not many girls.
Wow.
Yeah, so I remember my first day, it was like this large room of like those guys. There was me, and then there was another product manager. So what I would say is over the years, I think that is beginning to change, because this was at 2019. So now there are some significant people who are doing like a lot of things in the industry. People like Adora Udo and Michelle Chibundo. They've been doing like amazing things and all of that. So I think that the idea that there are not many females in tech, I don't want to say too much about that, because I don't want to discourage any girl or any woman from coming into like the tech industry. If you have the passion, if you have the flair, if there's anything you want to do, I think that you should go for it, even if you see guys everywhere. Because when I entered, there were plenty guys and I didn't mind. So if you want to be a product manager, if you want to be a product designer, if you want to be a front-end developer, back-end developer, you can do it. So yeah.
Amazing. Okay, Kehinde, some of the concerns that people have had in recent times have been the experiences they've had working in the tech space, where you're not even sure where it's headed, and when you were speaking, you had spoken about have a focus, have a direction, and all of those things. But what do you think are some of the reasons why we seem to see this tech company thriving, and then at the end of the day, we don't seem to hear about it anymore? I mean, we need to speak to it, because some of us have concerns. Sometimes you're even getting job offers from them, and you're like, I'm really not sure, but I'd rather stay with the companies that have stayed so long, and I know that they have that staying power. So what is the concern around tech companies starting, and then you're almost not hearing about them in a short while?
I mean, look, there's so many reasons for that, right? I think the last 2 years there's been a surge in like funding of tech startups, right? And sometimes the fundamentals are not there, right? So product market fit is not there, clear paths to revenue, or just some tech startups are just like how they're making money, there's no clear path, or the market is just not there, right? But I think now there's been a bit of correction on both sides. So we're beginning to see companies that are viable, and also founders that are in need for the long term, right? So I think that's changing, right? The news we're hearing now is as a result of what happened 2 years, 3 years ago, or 4 years ago during post-COVID era, right? So I think it's changing, if I'm being honest. That's one. Also, sometimes it might be different reasons. It might be maybe market wasn't ready for the product. It might be misappropriation of funds. It might be not clear corporate governance in place. It might also just be maybe just misalignment or misappropriation of funds. Let me just put it under that umbrella, right? And it also goes down to governance in place. Also goes down to personality of the founders too. So those are some of the things that is bringing about these rising companies just not showing up again on the radar. Also, some are playing in spaces where they have no knowledge about, no domain expertise. Right, we saw a lot of that in the last 3-4 years. people starting up fintechs where they clearly have never done a year or 2 years, or they don't have experience, and they don't want to even listen to people that have experience running fintechs or financial services industry, right? So so those are some of the challenges. But I strongly think that it's changing now. We are getting to see VCs back making more due diligence, being more stringent in their due diligence. Although it's not nice, or I think it's a good thing for the ecosystem, and also the quality of startups now. You have people that spent years working in other startups, so you have people that worked in Paystack or Flutterwave or some of these other startups that are coming to start their own. So there's some sort of, I've worked in an organization that's done something like this, so there's that sense of I'm a lot better, right? For example, Money Points, right? Is ex InterSwitch,
absolutely.
Right? So
yeah.
you could see the way he ran, approached the business, right? So it's different from someone that just started and just So we're getting to that phase where you won't have people that are coming back second-time founders, right? I can say I'm a second-time founder, right? Because I bootstrapped. So I sort of have gone through that ranks of knowing what it's like to do business in this climate, so there's some mistakes you will not make, right? And even if you're making some mistakes, you can quickly correct yourself and adjust, right? So we're getting to that phase now where the quality of the startups are coming out. There'll be more, there's revenue from day one, or there's a clear path to revenue and profitability, the clear sight for exit for the early investors that give you guys money.
Amazing. That's good insight you gave there. Okay, Anthonia, let's talk about the downside of being a tech expert, right? Working from home, the social side of it and all of those things. How's it going for you?
Thanks for actually raising that. I feel like once you're a tech person, you will need to be very enthusiastic and passionate about what you're doing, because it's going to take a lot of your time. And then you would also need to be intentional about the other aspects of your life. Right. So for socializing, you would have to factor in like certain things, like going to the gym, making sure you show up at like maybe tech events, making sure you show up for maybe there's like a team bonding activity, or maybe there's something you want to do by yourself. You have to be very, very intentional, because if you're not intentional, it's very possible that you could get soaked up in like your very own world. And then that's also another issue with working remotely. It's very possible that you could fall into like a loop of, you just want to work. Because the thing is that once you're in that zone, you just want to keep going and going and going and going and going. But then you also need to pay attention to your health as well. Something happened when I initially became a designer. I wasn't taking enough water, so I was like, I just said it feels different. So everybody was like, oh yeah, you have to keep drinking water. Everyone had water bottles, and I was like, okay, why is everybody having water bottles? I didn't have. So like, oh, you have to keep drinking water because you're going to be sitting down a lot. So you have to be very intentional about your health. Right. You have to be very intentional about your self-care. You have to be very intentional about your friends and your family, because it's very possible for you to get lost. It happens to me a lot. There are sometimes I could be up at like 12, 1, 2, 3 designing, and maybe I have like crazy ideas. I could be sleeping and I'm just up like, oh my gosh, I had this crazy idea, and I got my laptop and I'm typing, and then I could forget so many things, forget a lot of people, and then I'm like, oh, okay. So what I decided to do to combat that is to kind of like be intentional with the people in my life, right? If I'm invited to something, I have to make sure that I actually show up. If somebody needs me to be present for something, I would make sure that it is something that is within my bandwidth. Also, you also need to be able to manage your time as well. Time management is very critical. It's very key in this aspect of things. If you know how to manage your time very well, if you know your capacity as a person, if you know how to manage expectations of other people, I believe you should be able to juggle all these things. So, but then if you don't, well, your work would be fantastic, but you would lose the social aspect of things. Because I know initially I mentioned the aspect of collaborating with other people. So that's something every tech person should be able to know how to do. You should be able to understand how your your teammates are feeling. There's also something called like emotional intelligence. Maybe it's okay, where should I send this message, how is it going to be, sending this email. You need to be able to understand how some of all these things work as well. So
amazing. Okay, Kehinde, as we round up, I would want you to speak to possible skills you look out for when you are hiring. I'm sure that we have young people that are looking to get into the tech space, and they're like, okay, there's a founder here. Does he have tips for us? Does he have insights into getting a job in tech?
Okay. Well, I mean, look, I mean, she rightly said it. Like, you have to have the willingness, right? I mean, if you're entry level, it's really not like there's no skill set, but the other things that you look out for, attitude, right? Do you have enough hunger to quickly absorb a lot? That's one. Number two, I think in this day and age, if you say, for example, you're a UI UX designer, you should have at least done something. Like, I'm not saying like just do it. You should have at least have it portfolio. Even if it's just your practice, I should be able to see that this person has moved in into a bit, right? Even for front end, for back end. There's so many tools and resources that you can use to just do something. So let me know how you think, how you approach, whether you're interested, right? That's that. Also, are you a team player? You know, you're going to be working with teams a lot, you know. So I would also, when I'm having conversations with you, what have you done? You know, have you volunteered for something in the past? Have you, it might not even be tech. Have you done something where you have worked together with a group of people to achieve a common goal? If it's maybe you're in your secondary school or you're in university, you've taken initiative over something. This is some of the skill sets I'm looking out for. Critical thinking too, you know. It's not just taking A to B. Why are we taking A to B? You should ask questions. Yeah, just be a team player, be flexible in your thinking, and be ready to absorb a lot and learn. Right? It's really, really important. Like up or until early this morning, I was still reading up on AI, right? So you are constantly learning. It's one field where you cannot just rely on what you know a year ago. People are moving like so you have to constantly be learning.
Wow,
So can I add
amazing.
to
Okay, sure.
something?
Yeah,
Go
sure.
ahead.
Okay, so like what he said about the industry evolving, because we know AI is here right now, and so one thing I would say if you want to become a tech person is when you begin, you have to take your learning. You have to be very personal about your learning, right? So you could leverage on some courses like Udemy, Coursera, because personally I started off learning with Coursera, and then while I was doing Coursera, I was also an intern. So it was like, how are you doing with your course today? But then do this task, right? So they see how I'm able to finish maybe the assignment I was given on the course, and then they see a reflection of it on the work. So it was like, you know, going hand in hand. And also it's always very important to have mentors as well. If you find people who care about your growth and your development, please hold them close without shame. Just eliminate shame, because you would need to beg for their time, because they have the knowledge that could push you to the next level.
Wow, amazing. This has been very insightful. Thank you so much for both of you for being on the show today. And that's it, guys. You have heard it all. Practice what has been said, and let's make the best out of it. Thank you.